I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, and this is a Fox News Alert. We're watching events in Berlin, Germany, where police say at least 9 people are dead and at least 50 injured after a truck plowed into a Christmas market. German police tweeting that a suspect was arrested near the scene, and authorities are checking if it was the driver of the truck. German police also say a passenger is dead. Germany's justice minister says federal prosecutors who handle terrorism cases are taking over the investigation at this time. We'll be bringing you alerts throughout the program on this developing news story. So, Eric, this is obviously something that's happening here, during the holidays, but also a lot of mixed messages, information coming out at this time about it.
Yeah, look, the first reaction is this must be terror because it mirrors almost exactly what remember Nice, France, but that was a Bastille Day, so there was a celebration going on that day. As far as I know, there wasn't, besides it being a Christmas market. You got to be careful to call it terror too soon, but certainly close all the loopholes, find out what this driver's history is, find out what the history of the truck is, if it has any mechanical problems, if the driver has any medical issues in the past, and then start combing social media for not only the driver. I believe they have the driver in custody, and the co-driver has been killed or has died somehow. So start closing all those loopholes and ends and whatnot. But you know, so much terror. Is it foreign terror? Is it someone who came over and wanted to commit a terror attack on this Christmas market? Or is it homegrown terror? These are the things that they're going to be, I guess we're going to be finding out in the next few hours. Yeah,
sometimes, Dana, with investigations like this, of course, you want to collect evidence because it's a forensic-rich environment. Take any electronic devices, comb through, like Eric said, any social media, any communication, the last people they spoke with. But also, you want to look at some of the common sense data points here, which are the market. This is during the Christmas holiday season, so this is a perfect time for those that would try to do us harm to engage in this type of behavior, but we're gathering the evidence as we speak.
Well, we know that ISIS encouraged this kind of attack in its November issue, which it had also right before the Bastille Day one. There was a suggestion of how you could use a truck as a weapon. And while the investigation continues in Berlin, that's fine, except for the U.S. State Department isn't waiting. It has issued an alert saying that Americans should take caution in markets and other places, saying that extremist groups, including Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, were focusing on the upcoming holiday season and associated events. And this is the goal of terror, which is to disrupt the Western civilized world's way of life so that they could advance whatever political goal they seem to have, which is basically just to kill people and to establish their caliphate.
Yeah, this has like multiple, appealing fronts to them in terms of Christmas, the war on Christians. Again, like you said, consistent with the literature and media that this terror group has been coming out.
A lot of people in one area. In fact,
maximum impact.
Greg's actually been to this market.
Yeah, right? 5 years ago.
But they're busy.
Yeah, they're packed. It's very crowded, and society is always going to be vulnerable in these places, areas where people are having fun are always the ones that are targeted. So it's concerts, it's parades. The Bastille Day, it was the rock concerts. It's outdoor marts. Terrorists truly are the Batman villain. You know, these are the people that seek people out when they least expect it, and their entire goal is to subtract pleasure from your life and replace it with abject terror. The only answer to this is to harden soft targets. This is the industry that is just waiting to explode. You will never run low on work. I think that if this has got to be a whole arm, a whole major in colleges, the idea of how do you harden soft targets around the world, and it'll be a competitive thing, and people will tend to go to places that they know are hardened. They will go like no more gun-free zones. People will go to concerts where they know that the security is good. And so you will create an industry that will build on itself, I think.
Well, and they go here where they're trying to achieve maximum casualties and loss of life, because you go to a densely packed or populated area where there's very little room for egress or escape, and you go in where there's a movie theater, whether it's a concert, whether it's a soccer stadium, or it's a market at Christmas. This really is, Juan, an attack and affront on even Western civilization with Christmas, with Christians, and the way of life during the holidays.
Well, you have the German police already telling people to stay home. And I think that's a telling point for me, because, we don't know, as everyone says, whether or not it was terrorism or not, but clearly there's an anxiety on the part of the police that they, as responsible for public safety, should tell people at this point, we don't know, stay home. The second thing is the U.S. State Department being very clear for some time that they were warning Americans to stay out of just the kind of environment that Greg was describing, crowded places. I would say, though, that, Kimberly, you and I have a difference here, because I think it's not just the damage that they do, or the murderous damage in this case, but it's the fear.
Of course.
And I think it's
We
the
agree on
fear
that.
that they incite throughout. And so if people stop leading their normal lives, if people operate in an environment of fear, people feel like, I don't want to go to that concert, I don't want to go Christmas shopping, I think then you could say, you know, the cliche is the terrorists have won. And I think that's what they're after here. So there's a delicate balance. I think lots of people are critical of President Obama for often being too laid back in these situations. But the alternate is to say everybody run, scatter, go hide. But I think it's just a challenge to us as Western civilization.
Okay, and a couple other points here that we are reporting: 50 people wounded in this attack. So clearly, tremendous, obviously, loss of life. But those injured, will be waiting for reports to get in terms of the extent of those injuries. And this was at the Christmas market at the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church. Again, another symbol, of Christianity, of a celebration of Christmas and the Holy Spirit. So very devastating to come like this during the holidays, and we do pray for those families. Eric.
Dana pointed out the U.S. State Department called for American citizens abroad to take caution in markets and other places, but also adding that extremist groups, including Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, are focusing on the quote, the State Department, quote, on the upcoming holiday season and associated events. Christmas market, upcoming holiday season, and associated events. Again, I'm operating under the assumption that this is some sort of terror attack act, and not just a horrible accident that's been perpetrated.
Well, there was some in the Associated Press reported that a tourist from Birmingham, England, told them he was there at the scene, and he said it was definitely deliberate, and that he helped people who appeared to have broken limbs, and also that were people that were caught under the Christmas stand. So.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah, I would.
Horrible.
And also, we connected it earlier to what happened in France, in Nice, over the summer with Bastille Day. But I would also connect it to what happened in Ohio.
Sure.
Because, again, you're seeing people potentially, in terms of the terrorism, and again, we're just assuming, but in the speculation, people being told use vehicles as weapons of terror.
And Dana brought up that point, because not only is the propaganda, the jihad propaganda that they're putting out, say that in some of the stuff from ISIS, it's also in, and has been consistent in the Al-Qaeda magazine, in Inspire, to tell them to use any kind of weaponry that they can to weaponize themselves, to use everything from crock pots or pressure cookers to trucks, vehicles, use knives, anything you can. And Greg, you talked about hardening soft targets. The U.S. State Department warned its citizens over a month ago to be careful at these type of activities or these type of locations that are easily, could be targeted by terrorists or jihadists. How do you harden a target like this, like a Christmas market, unless you put people, armed security there, and would that be able to stop a truck?
Yeah, or barriers. I mean, look, we look outside our building at Fox. There are tasteful planters. They're not there because people like plants. Those planters are there to block trucks. Like when you ever see a large building in the city, they have these massive things there. They're made to look
concrete.
Yeah, it's not because we love the environment, but I mean, right? I mean, we live in a world now.
We do.
Yeah, we do love the environment. Some of us do. We are in an era where people are weaponizing life. Yeah. Anything can be used as a weapon. You can go to Pottery Barn or Crate and Barrel and find something that you can turn into a weapon. And so the advantage of a terrorist is that they can think of, this is all they think about.
Right.
This is all we are busy raising kids or going to work. We don't think about these things. This is their vocation. So we have to have creative types, in intelligence, who are thinking, okay, what are they going to do next? What is the...
It's the imaginative thing. That was one of the things I said in the after-action report of 9/11, that when the intelligence community needs to have as much imagination as possible to think about, there's the known threats that we have. So in Europe, they've known that they had a problem here, but this is not the first time that Berlin has had a problem, or Brussels, Paris, Bataclan. There's all sorts of different places you could look at, but then you need your intelligence community to have the space and the opportunity to just be imagining what could actually be coming next.
And the resources.
To walk around D.C. these days. I mean, I remember when Pennsylvania Avenue was open. I remember the other day I was at the Christmas party.
You are old.
Yeah, but I mean, I was walking along right the street between the Treasury and the White House, And when I was a White House correspondent, we used to go out there and play around. So, I mean, this is a different world. And it's to the point where, you know, it gets in the way of people who want to experience America and American democracy. If you go up on Capitol Hill, the White House and the like, everything now is choked off, so secure.
Right.
And you have to wonder, you know, at what point is it irrational? Because we're all living with a degree of this fear. But it could be a knife, as you said. It could be a guy coming up and sucker punch you. You don't know, but are we supposed to live in fear of it for all time?
The irrational response would be to do nothing. I think because the terrorists are getting more brazen, they want a bigger moment. They want the moment.
No, I think in fact they had 9/11, and they haven't had 9/11 since.
Yeah.
And I think that they have a longer view as to why
they've had far too many successes.
But we have hardened and we have responded.
We hardened the cockpit. That's what we did. We hardened that.
We have done so much in this country, but I think around the world. But the thing is, if they could have attacked the mall since then, and they haven't done it.
Right.
But you know what Khalid Sheikh Mohammed said?
I know.
The reason why.
You got
Tell me.
Yeah.
He said that they didn't expect, in his interrogation, when he finally started talking, he said they never expected that the cowboy would actually send troops into Afghanistan, that action and being aggressive stopped a second wave of catastrophic attacks. And it doesn't mean that these smaller attacks aren't as deadly, but they're not as catastrophic.
Because he was smart enough to know that you can't take anything off the table. You have to have all options available, because if they know that you're not going to go commit to something, then they can act without any kind of fear of reprisal, which is what we've seen for the past 8 years.
To the point that, like, these are smaller, more fractious with knives. There will be one. And it will be terror married to technology, and it will make 9/11 look like nothing, and we will talk about that for the next 40 years.
Right.
Because that's the plan, is to marry, whether it's anthrax with a drone, it's going to happen.
That's the really scary part.
Yeah.
Okay.